So please welcome Michael Garber.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. So I thought, does anyone here watch Silicon Valley? Yeah. All right. So I was trying to think of like all these like awesome ways for me to intro this plugin for Final Cut. You know, with like I thought I'm gonna make a video. I'm gonna like be totally badass. And the only thing I could come up with was I thought, well, maybe I can rock PowerPoint, or in this case, Keynote. And I don't even think I did that here. So I have 2 slides. So tonight I'm going to be showing off 2 third-party plugins, or not plugins, I'm sorry, 2 pieces of third-party apps that are meant to work with Final Cut Pro 10. One of which you may know about, because Michael had talked about it, which is Final Cut Library Manager. And this is Final Cut Library Manager, and it's by a company called Arctic Whiteness. And I spoke to the developer, Tim, who's a wonderful Englishman who lives in Paris. And I said, Tim, what's the deal with the name? What does it mean? And he said it was an anagram. So I said, well, what's the anagram for? And it means it's an anagram for arts with science. Science. So we already know that these guys are operating at a higher level than us if they're making their company name into an anagram. But actually, these guys are really smart, and I was really happy that he took some time to give me a demo of the software so that I could give it to you. And then the second third-party app that we're going to look at is called X Title Importer, which, if anyone does subtitles, works with subtitles, and is looking for something that works with Final Cut 10, this might be one of the best options out there. And I'm actually using it on a job now, and that's why I wanted to show it tonight, because I'm really excited that it works so well. So let's go ahead and quit this program and move over to Final Cut. Oh, by the way, this is real, and it's not my car. Because a lot of people, like I always get introduced as, oh, this is the Final Cut guru. He knows everything about Final Cut, and he's crazy about Final Cut, which I am. But I actually saw this on La Cienega a couple months ago. And I actually saw another car in the parking lot where I work that says FNLCUT. So if anyone here, if that's their car, you guys are awesome. So first things first, by show of hands, how many people know what a library is in the Final Cut Pro 10 world? Okay, great. So a few of you know, and I take it the rest of you don't know. So I'm going to show you what a library is first, and we'll look into it and see why we'd want to manage it. So let's find one here. Let's see. Just gonna. So libraries. Libraries are akin to projects in Avid or Final Cut 7 or Premiere. Except in the Final Cut 10 realm, they are packages. So if I right-click on them and do the thing that you're not supposed to do, I'm going to show the package contents, and we're going to look inside the library. And here we'll see these folders, and these folders represent events inside of Final Cut. And within these, you'll find original media, or in this case, links to original media. You'll find your render files. You'll find transcoded and proxy media. We can get into that in a little bit, but when you've got a drive full of libraries, it would be nice to be able to manage a bulk number of, or to batch manage a bunch of libraries at the same time. And so that's where Final Cut Library Manager comes into the mix. So let's go ahead and launch that program right now. Here we are here. So what this is showing is, in fact, let me actually remove this from the list for now. So this is showing all of the active libraries that are on my Mac HD. So what the program, the first thing what the program does when you launch it for the first time is that it scans all of your connected drives, and it uses Spotlight to troll all of the associated, I guess, metadata that goes along with it. What's also cool about it is that it can look inside the libraries and kind of give you an appraisal of how much space your libraries are taking up on your drive. and it can also show you how much space the transcoded files are taking up, the proxy files, the render files, et cetera, et cetera. So here we see this is just a drive of some stuff I've just been messing around with. But let's go ahead and plug in one of my main drives here. Old Bessie, get her going. That's right, girl. Spin up. Show them what you got. It makes kind of a sound every 20 minutes or so, which I really like. That inspires confidence in me. So when we look at the drive here, we see just a bunch of projects here. These are folders with projects in it. Just trust me, they're in there. I had removed it from the list before, so usually Final Cut Manager will see the drives when you launch them for the first time. It will start trolling for the data. But if you remove a drive, then it assumes that you just don't want the program to see it. So what you can also do is just drag the drive into the app. I'll go ahead and expand that. So what this shows us now is we've got both drives selected, and we can see all my history of all my libraries on that drive. And right now it's going through and it's calculating how much space they all take up. And it's doing that slower than normal, but it will happen. So first things first, let's look at this project here. Actually, let's look at the UI first and see what we've got, what the landscape of the program is. One thing I'd like to say is I was reading an article that these guys did over on the FCP Works website, plug, FCP Works, plug, and they had said that they they'd spent a lot of time developing the UI for the app. And that actually shows. It's actually really nice for a third-party app that's $9. It's very simple, but it's actually very powerful as well. So if we click and hover over the drives, you'll see here that what it will show you, it'll show you based on the drive for every project. It'll show you how many gigs of optimized proxy, stabilized optical flow data, render files are all stored on the drive. So, in the case of my 6 terabyte drive here, I've got about, free 203 gigs. So if I want to add something on the drive, this would be a great program to do that with. One other thing you can do is you can turn off drives like that with the checkbox, and they are great with working with contextual buttons or for contextual clicking. So if I hit Command click, it will turn off all the drives, and then I can just turn on one or the other. Up here, this is like our filter for what types of projects we want to show. So if I actually go ahead, I can right-click and eject this. You can eject drives from the app. If I do that right now, what it'll do is it'll show these are all like broken links. So we see here's, there's our little broken plug. And when you have a lot of drives that the program is trolling, this list could get pretty long. So you can actually turn off all of those and you can just filter out all the projects that are not currently online. So let me go back into Disk Utility and open this one back up. So I think that's a nice little feature. They really sort of understand what the use is for the program and help you out. This button here, this will show and hide missing libraries, and then this button here, this will, if you click on that, that will show and hide accessible libraries. So if you only wanted to see the ones that were not currently attached to the computer, that's where you would click that button to see that. So over here in our search bar, there's some interesting buttons here. So we can search based off of a lot of data. It's really getting into the library and looking at everything it can possibly find. So we can search for library names. So if I just type in Huel, it's just going to find all the projects that have something to do with Huel in them. If I, let's see, just search by name, just this one project has Huel in it. If I turn this on, let's see here, search for event names. So can't think of an event name off the top of my head. Let's see, Cuts. That's probably a good event name. These are all the projects that have an event in them with the word cuts in it. Here we can search by project name. So in Final Cut 10 terminology, a project is a timeline. So I could search for project names only, and I can search for based on file names. I can search for actual files within each library. So if you need to find where a file is really quickly within a library, this is a great way to do that. You don't have to open them all up first. You don't have to, you know, click on a library, open it up in 10, wait for it to open. You can just find it this way. Now this is actually kind of cool. There's another thing that it can do, that it can search for. So do you guys see the word Cleveland here? Anyone? Cleveland? No? All right. It's not there. So let's turn all these off. And I'll do a search for the word Cleveland, and, well, Cleve. And there it is. Mount Zion project has Hello Cleveland in there. Now, where is this? Why is it searching for that? Where's this comment? So this comment is, well, it can be edited here in the program, or what it's trolling for, what it just found, if I show this in the Finder, I hit Command-I on that, it's actually searching for the comments field that actually is attached to all files within OS 10. So that's a nice little feature. Move back over to that. Yeah, if you're doing a lot with if you're working on a lot of different projects, it would be good to have it in the background. It doesn't take up a lot of memory, and if it does, then you can just quit it, and it loads in fairly quickly. Oh, this also works with a SAN. So if you have a lot of projects on a SAN, this will search for all those as well, and your mileage may vary on that, but it does work with SANs. So. Moving into the management aspect, what is it doing in terms of managing libraries? So if I look at these specific libraries, we see, let's just click on the 6 terabyte drive here. We can look at the data on the drives in 2 different ways. Right now we're in the proportional view. So this is showing me, here I'll show you so you can see, here's the word proportional. So we can see that this project here, the Mount Zion project, is taking up the most space on the drive. Now we can also click on fixed and see how much data, how large of the generated files are in proportion to the file itself, to the library itself. I know it's a little complicated, but basically, if you're trying to figure out what's taking up the most space on your drive, click on proportional. And so this is a great project here because I have all the type of generated data. That's one thing I didn't mention. So anything in Final Cut that's not the original media, so if you bring in some DSLR clips into Final Cut and you create transcoded optimized media, so ProRes, you can do that automatically in 10. You can create proxy media out of that, which would be like a 960 by 720 H26, or I'm sorry, ProRes LT file. You can, if you have your render files, this is what's all considered generated media. And it's stuff that can be regenerated later if you delete it. So again, so what we see here is when I just hover over this, we see that I've got 146 gigs in optimized media. Let's say I'm done with the project. It's finito. I've made my QuickTime movie. This is a client I know is not coming back. I'm ready to archive it, and I want to make some space on the drive. Click on optimized media, hit the trash button, and it asks you if you want to clean it. I happen to want to keep this. So I'm going to hit cancel, but trust me that it will delete that. So, and then it will also do, here's something interesting that it will also do. It will also delete your optical flow data. And the optical flow data can actually get really large inside projects and events. And that's optical flow in Final Cut is basically if you're going to do a slow-mo and you want to like blend the frames together and kind of do that Morphe slow-mo Twixtor effect, that's what optical flow is. And so you can take those offline. I prefer not to do that. That's a little tip from me. Because I found that sometimes it might render a little differently, and I can't confirm or deny that, but once I get a good optical flow, I kind of want to keep those files. So, but you can do that here. And as well for the render files, one really cool thing is because you can share out to Vimeo and YouTube within Final Cut. But it creates, and it creates H.264s, which reside inside of the library. Those can build up over time. And this is a super easy way to delete those. So you would just click that, delete, clean that out. And then the next feature that you can do with this program is that you can search for, you can actually create new, you can create new libraries here. It will actually create a library for you that you can open up in Final Cut. But we're not going to do that now. What we can do is if I type in LACPUG, let's see if it works. There we go. If I type in LACPUG, there we are. I needed a search just based on event name only. If I type in LACPUG, what it shows us is my LACPUG subtitles demo, aka a big old segue. So now I can open this up inside Final Cut Pro just by double-clicking on it. So that's a great thing that you can do. I tied those together. I'm pretty proud of that. All right, so does anyone here, do you guys work with subtitles? Is it something that interests you, excites you at the beginning of the day, end of the day? No? Anyone heard of an SRT file? Yes. Yay! All right. So this program that I'm going to show you in a sec can read SRT files and bring them into Final Cut. And it's kind of cool what you can do. I got a little corporate client, and this is a job that used to go out of house, and I was able to bring this in-house. So it's one additional thing that Final Cut 10 can do that is able to generate me some cash, which is great. I like cash. So let's open up XTI. This is made by a company called Spherico by Andreas Kiel, and he does a ton of FCP 10 third-party apps. And I'm going to ask you, are there any tonight for giving away? Or 3? Great. So there's 3 copies of this to give away, and they're like 40 euros, 57. Oh, 160? Yeah. Okay, that's how much it is. Sorry, Andreas.
It's like $2,000 there.
Yeah, that's right. It's huge. So this is an awesome piece of expensive software that you could win for free tonight. So here's kind of how it opens up the first time. I've made some changes here, so this is Xtitle Importer, and it's really simple and straightforward. All you need to do is find an SRT, select the SRT by selecting the file. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me go back one step here and show you some of the features. So if you need to know what the frame rate of your SRT file is first. In my case, it's actually 25 frames per second. And these are actually Arabic subtitles, and they all come through perfectly. Here's a little trick, and I don't know if he's going to change this or not, but you have to choose a template. It has a bunch of built-in Final Cut 10 project templates, or timeline templates. If you're on 10.1 or greater, you want to select the extended one, EXT text up regular. If you're on 10.0.9 or earlier, you want to choose just regular text up. Well, we're on 10.1, so we're going to choose that, and that will allow us to do some additional things. So in my case, the role for this, roles are kind of a complicated thing to explain right now, but roles are like the conduit in Final Cut 10 to translate between the magnetic timeline and the world of tracks. So think of roles like dialogue, music, and effects, or picture and and graphics, titles. And you can export, if all the clips that have the same role on them, you can export your own QuickTime based on that. So this is really great if you have, if you're delivering multiple subtitles to multiple vendors off the same movie, you can have everything in the same timeline, and if your Arabic subtitles have the Arabic role on them, if the German subtitles have the German role on them, they can all be in the same timeline, and then you only have to have one timeline to export. So whenever you export something, you would just select which roles you want to have turned on, and I can show you that in a sec. So here I have Arabic turned on. We can change the, let me move down here. So you can create a new event from the role name, which we'll do. You can preview the titles, and I'll show you that in a second once we bring in the SRT. And you can bring the titles in on a secondary storyline or just bring them in on the primary. I'm going to bring them, I was going to ask if I could get that. You can bring these in on a secondary storyline. And then we can add notes, which is recommended, and I'll show you what that is. They didn't help me on this job, but they are recommended by Andreas. Oh, and markers. If you add notes, you might want to add markers, and I'll show you why in a sec. So you can also choose the font, style, size, leading, et cetera, et cetera. So you just need to click on User for that. And then we'll go ahead and make these yellow just as a proof that this works. Please work. So we'll go ahead and choose the SRT file. It's going to process those for a second. And now it will give us all the subtitles and show us the ins and outs and duration. You can edit these here. So if you know Arabic, please feel free to come up and edit any mistakes that might be in there. Oh, how can I tell? It's been, for me, in this case, it's been proofread by the client. So, yeah. There you go. So one thing you can do is you can also make a custom color based on line. But I don't know if that will actually come through or not. But anyways, you can do that here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save on the XML. And we'll save that to the desktop. Open that in Final Cut 10. And this is the Open Library menu, and it'll ask you which library you want to add it to. And so the current active one is LACPUG Subtitles Demo, so I'll click on that, and that will bring that in there. There we are. So operational, video, Arabic. And there are all of our subtitles ready to go. Sorry for the size of the screen, but I hope you guys can see that. So everything is yellow. It's, okay, so the, did I not change the title? I don't know why that, oh, I had it set to Arial. Well, actually, I'll show you kind of a cool thing. It might take a second to do. But this is something that where I become a Final Cut fanboy. Maybe that'll become my Twitter handle, FCP fanboy. So I can select a group of clips of titles, and I can do a batch change to the title, to anything. So I've just batch changed all of these clips. I can change the size, the tracking, and that's just cool. I don't know if you can do that in any other app, but I use that all the time.
Do you have to select an SRT file or can it be a text file?
I don't know if it can be text. I think it can have a text extension to it. So it does, yeah. It should be in that format. He supports a lot of different formats, and he's supporting some new modern. I think he's going to be supporting some HTML5 formats as well, which I think those formats can have formatting inside of them. So if someone's speaking, it'll take that HTML5 value and put like the name of the character next to it. But I think that's something he's working on. So, so now I would normally put video under this, but video would go on the bottom layer here. If I pull up my timeline index, now we see the clip names here. Now, I had mentioned before that those clip IDs will come in. So here are the clip IDs. I'm sorry, he explained to me exactly what the clip IDs are for. It's something if they go offline, some way of tracking them. For my use, I didn't have a need for it, but I can imagine in, say, a larger post facility, these might come in handy. So they're UUIDs for each one. So if you want those on, I was finding it hard to search for numbers because then inevitably those number values show up in the UUIDs. So if you click on tags and we search by, well, let's see if the numbers are in there now. They may be Arabic numerals here. Yeah, I think that they're Arabic numerals here. So I can't really show that based on this selection here. But the markers have the text inside of them. So you could search for them here if you needed the UUIDs turned on and you needed to search for numbers. I hope that makes sense, but kind of complicated, but that's that. So now under roles, we see here that if I select these roles, it highlights all of the titles up here on the top layer. But let's just go ahead and when you export a file in Final Cut, you do that from the Share menu. So I click on the Share menu, I create master file. Now let's say that you had like multiple layers of subtitles in your timeline. If I go to Settings and I select Multi-Track QuickTime Movie, Now here is where I can turn on and off my, my roles here. So if, so let's say there are 2 roles here. It adds a false role for a start header. So if I had just that on, just that start title would export. But let's say that that was German subtitles. I would just select that, and it would just export the German subtitles on top of the video. And if I unselected that and then selected the Arabic, then it would just export that. I would hit next. It would make the QuickTime. And hopefully you would go home early. So that's it. That's my demo, guys. That's everything.